I'm a big fan of textured dials. They just have a way of drawing you in, of making you more invested, of wanting and needing to take a closer look. Because you just know that the longer you look, the prettier she gets. And the Hamilton Jazzmaster Viewmatic is no different. The textured center circle is composed of rows of capital H's interlocked with each other from top to bottom. These H's are the raised part of that textured center. I could only distinguish this through a jeweler's loupe. And because my camera is failing to capture that detail, I went ahead and made a sketch to show you guys what I see when I look through the jeweler's loupe. That's just the bottom level to this dial. The mid-level to this dial is a ring where we find an arrangement of applied arrowhead markers and numerals neatly polished. There's a line of lume going through the center of those arrowhead indices, but keeping it real here, I shouldn't even be mentioning this. The lume is weak, but not a con, because lume isn't necessarily a characteristic of dress watches. The ring is also comprised of the coolest date window I've reviewed so far. The trapezoid-shaped date window is slick. The two silver lines that frame it enhance the uneven cutout. What a big difference two printed lines can make. The seamless incorporation of the minute track top level is also discreet. Underneath the widest part of those indices, there's an angle that slopes up, dial following closely, and flattening out for the silver printed minute and second hashes, and the 2-digit 5-minute numeric intervals. Just as the rows of H's are delicately complex, so too are the 3 tiers to this dial. Do not expect to see the kind of depth found on Invictus. Hamilton is more understated. The Hamilton website has this watch advertised as a ladies' watch, but that's only because we can't seem to get over this big watch trend. They claim a 37mm case width, and that's fair. I measure a case width of 36.7 from 12 to 6, and a 38.2mm case width when we include the crown guards. 10.2mm tall make this one of my thinnest contemporary automatic dress watches. 18mm lug width, and a 46mm lug to lug length. The H10 caliber features 80 hours of power reserve, the most of all my watches. It features hacking, hand winding, date, and a 25 jewel count. The movement can be enjoyed through the see-through case back, which is held in place by 5 screws, giving the watch 50 meters of water resistance. Stainless steel case, crown, pull-push crown. The watch has a sapphire crystal with the tiniest of dome. They could have easily just put a flat sapphire, but they didn't. And that goes a long way. The case is uniquely Hamilton. Yes, the lugs do kind of resemble those found on vintage Omega constellations, but I would say only from the top view. If we turn it on its sides, it no longer looks Omega. This is all Hamilton. The lugs feature horizontal brushing on its sides and vertical brushing on the top. And there's a nice bevel that's polished there, separating the two. The case, crown guards, crown polished. But check out that fine bezel. Polished from the top, brushed on its sides. A point of contention before buying this watch were the unusually long crown guards. I thought it made the watch look uneven, crown heavy. An odd date window, big ass crown guards. On paper, these are notes that could sound disastrous, but surprisingly, it works. I made another illustration to try to prove that point. I did not think I was going to have to draw so much for this video. Uncommon case shapes, unique designs. This is classic Hamilton. We only need to look at their electric watches from the past to get an idea where this watch may be getting its DNA from. But back to that dial. I can't tell if that bar where the silver printed Hamilton logo is applied or not. I would guess not, but can't say for sure. There's a review out there where this cat says that it is applied. So there you go. What I can say is that the uppercase font of that Hamilton and that of the lowercase Viewmatic complement each other. Just like the crown guards and that date window. The Hamilton brand can also be found on the pin and buckle. This buckle features both horizontal and vertical brushing. I'm not doing the best job capturing that. With 3 bevels that are polished. Now for the cons, but not really for this first one because it's more like a half negative. If you don't know what a half negative is, it's basically a con with some positive aspects. Let me try to wipe this down here for a bit. This leather band is stiff. I've owned this watch for over 4 years now, and at some point it just stopped breaking in. The thick handcrafted leather features silver stitching. And you'll never know how key that is to the overall ensemble until you try this watch head with a band that features white stitching. The contrast is immense. It's the only reason why I haven't changed it from its original band. I would love to wear this watch with a leather that's softer, but then the watch wouldn't look its best. And I'm not going to sacrifice looks over comfort. Not me. Because this watch is quote-unquote a lady's watch, the leather band is shorter. And if you give me a minute or two, that annoying tip that comes around us smaller wristed gents is going to be less distracting. That's a plus for us who have smaller wrists. Compared to the 40mm version, this one, the band, the 18mm band, has a 2mm taper, and it suits the watch head well. I don't think the 40mm version has a taper, and that's a shame. But no watch is perfect, and this is where I'll mention its first real con. No anti-reflective coating on that sapphire crystal. What you see there are my copious notes. Black dial, no AR on the sapphire. You're gonna have to deal with reflection. I just came back from a burrito run, and even on these shady streets, I had reflections. Some watches can get away with no AR, not this one. The only other con I see on this watch is that applied to on that 12. It just looks plain, dull. Everything else on this watch has character. That 6 and 9 have that retro sleekness. The arrowhead counterbalance on that sweeping second hand aligns itself with each hour indice, and each time it does, we see the arrow of time. Coincidence, or did Hamilton intend for that? The hour indices are now the back end of the arrow, and the counterbalance now being the tip, the front end of the arrow. This watch is seeping with character, the unique case, and the way the different components of the case are finished. But that too simply falls flat. In the last video, I failed to mention the Zodiac Olympus having a signed crown. Although I did make sure to capture that on screen, I should have also stressed its importance. A signed crown levels up any watch. It dignifies the watch. It separates itself from those without a signed crown, and this watch has one. I can't remember where or how much I paid for the watch. I did get it off a gray market watch dealer, and I would guess I paid anywhere from $350 to $450. If you get this watch under $500, I'd say you got yourself a pretty good deal. This watch offers unique case design and finishing with a dial that's filled with such detail that if you paid over $500, I'd still say you got yourself a good watch. Let's not forget, we're paying for Hamilton, the brand, and it's Swiss made. I caught a review where this cat got 3 of them because he found them for $250 each. I'm gonna assume it was pre 80 hours of power reserve, but regardless, you find a Jazzmaster Viewmatic for $250, you should also buy 3. When it comes to the Jazzmaster Viewmatic, us smaller wristed gents, we get the better version. The 40mm version is still a good watch, but that date window being half outside that mid-level ring, it disrupts its harmony. The smaller 37mm version has better spacing with proportions that are easier on the eyes. She's simply beautiful. And until the next Dapper wrist, be safe, y'all.